what is the math you're focused on in tax reform?
Well, you know, I mean, the big story is that everyone likes to talk about the ice cream, right? Tax cuts for corporations, expanding deductions for people. But we need some way to pay for that, or a decision not to pay for it. You've seen lots of action in Congress trying to think about ways to pay for real tax reform, revenue-neutral tax reform, the border-adjusted tax being the most prominent example. And what we're discovering is that's really hard, that if you want to pay for tax cuts, the people you're asking to contribute more notice it, they complain, and that's why tax reform takes a very long time.
Somewhere this weekend there will be a barbecue and someone will complain about the high Obama taxes, and they'll say that we've got to get taxes back to normal. Is that a valid question, a valid statement?
You know, normal is in the eye of the beholder, and people are all over the place on what should be normal. You could find much higher tax rates if you think normal is the 50s and 60s. You could find lower tax rates if you only want to go back a decade or so. The thing, of course, with the taxes that came along with President Obama is that many of them, the tax increases, were associated with the expansion of health reform. And so we see that actually tax is now two discussions. There's the health discussion and about whether Congress wants to eliminate those taxes while doing things like cutting back Medicaid, which is politically very problematic. And then there's the rest of the tax code, the tax reform debate, where the challenge is finding pay-fors. Guys
like you, and with your PhD at MIT, I'm sure you know James Paterba. Guys like you and Paterba are the wonks. You're the ones doing the math. The politicians have to work. Earlier this week, Bloomberg Surveillance spoke with Vin Weber twice, the former congressman from Minnesota. He got together with Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan and got something done in another time and place. Are we going to have that photo opportunity again?
I don't think so. It was much easier to do fundamental tax reform back in '86. It was easier to accomplish revenue neutrality. Basically, you could cut taxes on people and raise taxes on businesses, and that was something politically viable. Today, a lot of the focus is on reducing taxes for businesses, and you can't increase taxes on people or cut spending for people and make that work politically. So I think the real interesting challenge today is whether they just go ahead and decide they want to do a tax cut rather than fundamental tax reform.